Joy, how are you? It's so good to see you. You look fab.
Oh, thanks. I'm in my yoga gear. I love Sundays because it's a home routine day. All the laundry gets done on Sundays. My husband goes to yoga class. My son goes to karate. I do yoga. It's just nice. It's relaxing. I love it. That
Yeah.
hasn't changed. Those routines have not changed for us since staying home.
So he
Oh,
goes to
on Zoom.
class
Everybody's on Zoom
on
now.
Zoom. Yeah, yeah. Because
Yeah.
I must say my Tai Chi moved to Zoom as well. And I thought that that was going to be the end of it, but it actually turned out to work quite well, you know?
I know. I keep saying to my yoga teacher, she moved to Zoom shortly after we all started staying home, and we're teasing her now saying, when you go back to the studio, will you still let us come online? I absolutely have been loving this. I'm calling it the stay-at-home time without the commuting and just being in my family's bubble. We have a beautiful yard, you know.
Yeah, I
The whole
do.
thing was really hard to navigate. Learning from home as the teacher of your own child is insurmountably challenging. And so at the end of the year, I just had such respect for parents everywhere, especially young children, kindergarten, first, second grade. By third grade, they have a little bit more independence and technological savviness, so they might be able to start setting up their Zoom calls on their own, or maybe they can facilitate some of their own work independently at the table afterwards. But in my first grade spring, that was not the case. So we were on duty. Oh my God.
Yeah, no, that's really hard. And I do think coming out of this, there will be an increased respect for teachers in general. Yeah, because from people thinking, oh, I can just do this at home or, you know, whatever. Now you begin to see a little bit of what goes into it and the planning that's necessary and all of that, you know?
Yeah. I really had a sense of awe and gratitude for the parents in my community that I was giving information to, right? To support them in the home learning, because without them, their children could not have learned. So at the end of the year, I really just gushed gratitude to them. And they felt respected by that. But then what's really also interesting is my son goes to school in a community that has a lot of socioeconomic privilege. And the families there are used to seeing the public school system as a commodity. This is my
Exactly.
I'm going to drop off my kid. I'm going to check that box. I'm going to get into my designer yoga gear. I'm going to go get to drink my Starbucks. I'm going to get to go and do my thing for the day, and then I'll pick them up at the end. So for the very first time ever, I've never been able to participate in going to parent coffees at schools where the principal speaks and there's a forum and a topic and the PTO shares and some teachers share, because I'm always working, right? So stay-at-home time, I went to my first one online. It was on Zoom. The principal was there, the superintendent was there, the vice principal was there, and all these parents were there in this community. And the opening statement after the principal and the superintendent and the VP and the health and security person, and I think there was also a school committee representative or somebody from town that was there representing
Wow.
right?
Okay.
And then there was like 150 parents in the chat room there. Yeah. And the first person, then when they opened the conversation for comments, the first person was like, well, I'm tired of teaching my child. I'm over exaggerating. So my heart.
That is too funny.
She was sitting on her designer couch in her designer yoga gear, and she had her latte with her that she had made at home. And she was like, I'm just exhausted having to teach my child, and I just don't want to anymore. And I just almost flipped my lid. I was like, okay, wait, this is a reality that I have no context with. I don't live in this place. I don't have a position in life. I was like, and you know me, Carolyn.
Yes.
I am not afraid to speak. Boom, my Zoom hand went up.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was a very contentious meeting because I just laid it all out and was like, boom, 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 boom to that community. And then, you know, my husband works in that same community, and word travels. The superintendent said, never again are we going to open Zooms to parents for feedback.
Did you single-handedly total it?
I just like, and my husband, bless him, he was watching in the comments, because as you're speaking, there's people that are like, in the
Right.
snack galley, like the peanut gallery.
Yeah.
He said that they were just like, bam, knocking me down, but I didn't care. It was like, whatever. You guys all have
Well,
one reality, and here's
yeah.
another.
Yeah. And I do think that, of course, you're not only a parent, but a professional teacher for
Yes.
many years. And you have this viewpoint that
Yeah.
most of them, probably all of them that were on that, they have no clue. And
No.
so you're bringing a completely new and much needed little dose of reality to people like that. And quite often people don't, you know, they tend to not want to hear that.
No. They're
You
like in
know,
their little bubbles.
yep, they don't. And if you get people who are used to sort of being cosseted and coddled and kind of waited on, as you say, that kind of person is also often living in some kind of consumer
Ooh,
society in
yeah.
which they can just buy whatever they need. And this has been one of the realizations of COVID that I think has upset a lot of wagons,
Hmm.
is the fact that we now have stripped away a lot of the sort of supports and things that people were relying on to do things that they didn't want to do, or face things that they didn't want to face. And this is a perfect example, you
Hmm.
know.
For sure. And I think, growing up in a socially justice minded family with such empathic skills, all
Mm,
this psychic stuff that comes into my life, I approached that platform as, we're all in this together. We're all humans suffering. We're all trying to make the best
right.
of it. How can we come into this place with solution as our mindset? And that's just not a framework of reference in that community. So now I'm
No,
like, whoa, where does, like, I don't belong there, but maybe I do
yeah.
belong there. Maybe I still have to keep speaking, even though it's hard and it's challenging. And because I'm that little tiny voice, who knows?
And I do, well, and it's always a balance with those things as we're kind of moving into the social justice
Mhm.
conversation in general. I do think it's a balance because we don't ever want to get to this point where we're always on the soapbox and we're constantly slaying dragons. It's just exhausting. And there are some people that, bless their hearts, they're just not able to hear the kind of truth that you're going to share, no matter how tactfully, how
Right.
intelligently, how backed up with facts and figures. There's some things that are just, but at the same time, I know for myself, I cannot just sit and watch without speaking on things, especially now, because there are just some things that need to be said. And
Right.
it's quite possible that God put you in that meeting and opened your mouth to speak your truth because these people needed an education.
Right.
And you, being a teacher, you were the person most capable, because you're a peer with them in the sense that your child is also in that school and blah, blah, blah. But you're also bringing a higher level of knowledge, not to mention connection to a broader kind of sense of social justice and all that as well, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, that's true. It's interesting to remember that and to keep, it gives me solace to think that that might be my role there for as long as my child is in that elementary community.
Well, and there may be, have you ever found that when you spoke up on something, even though there were a lot of people at the time who were like, later people may come by the back door and say, I'm really glad you said that, or you made me think about something I hadn't thought of before?
It's interesting that you say that because the town rep, school committee guy, and a couple of educators who felt like they couldn't speak messaged me afterwards and found me and sought me out and said thank you. One
Yeah.
educator, she's a parent in that community, but she's also an educator. She said she was in tears watching the train wreck of that meeting. And then the school committee guy, I love this about our country. As gritty as things are right now and as challenged as people are right now, democracy in action is that we can come to the table and we can voice our opinions and we don't have to be afraid of death because
Yes,
of our voice.
hopefully not. Yeah.
We're not in that kind of community. And then a town official who was elected by his community sought me out to seek clarification on I think he was aligned with the teacher position and the let's move forward in community together and support each other position to begin with, but he wanted clarity from me, and that just made me feel so proud to live in a democracy in this speaking up and sharing ideas. You know, this is reminding me, I'm taking a little bit of a tangent here, but that picture you posted on social media of when you and your neighbors all went out with the street signs on the street corners, that just brought me so much joy, being able to watch that you were able to do that. Where was that location? Tell me more about that.
That was right at Ringe Avenue and Route 16 there on the way to Route 2. So, I mean, it was literally up the street from my house. And I actually, there are some people because, you know, Cambridge, not all of Cambridge. Cambridge is very mixed, and now there are a lot of people with a lot more money who do live in Cambridge, but there's also a sort of old line lefty kind of Cantabrigian, fiery, feisty kind of person. And there's a few of them, and they have been organizing events. And they recently organized a big thing I went to yesterday at Whole Foods, my local Whole Foods there, because the workers there have been sent home for wearing masks with Black Lives Matter or a t-shirt with Black Lives Matter. They were told that they were not allowed to wear it and to go home. And and this, I believe, does take great courage because, of course, they put their jobs on the line and who knows, they may get fired, but they reached out. And this being Cambridge, there were fiery activist type people who immediately got online and organized a big faldy-brawl. So yesterday we stood out in the 90-degree heat, and it being Cambridge, it was hilariously funny. It was like probably 50 white people and me, right? Because it's Cambridge. But I said to John later, I said, Whole Foods should be worried because it's not the people like me who necessarily make up the bulk of their clientele. It's far more a more affluent kind of white person in their 50s, such as these people who were there. And that someone had brought a band. There was a band with music and, you know, all of these people. It was hilarious. And it just made the point, I think, that you're saying that we do live in a democracy. And yes, there's a lot of pressure, subtle and some, unfortunately, not so subtle in places like Portland, where they're literally taking protesters off the street and carting them away. There is pressure to just kind of, you know, zip it. But I think if you feel the call to speak, I think it's very important to speak about the things that matter. I think now's the time. Yeah. Did you just say now's the time?
Yeah, for sure.
That's it. That's it. Exactly. That's so good for you, Laura. Good for you.
You know, I just never back down.
Yeah, well, and when it's important, you know, it's not like there are some people, as we know, who thrive on controversy, and people who just enjoy argument and they enjoy a good fight and all that. I don't think that's actually very helpful or productive, and often you then push people away who might even agree with you, but your energy is so contentious that you push them away. But I do think that if you, with love and respect, say what's important on your heart, and then if people don't want to hear it, they don't. What can you do? you know?
Yeah. You just can't spend any energy on those folks. It's just like you just have to keep
Mm-mm.
smiling forward, eyes on the
Yeah,
prize.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Well, one of the things that I
exactly.
have been wanting to ask you is on a very personal level, how are you doing amidst all of this racial tension and all? I mean, you are someone who is so dear to my heart and you're on my heart all
Oh,
the time and you know I stand out.
oh,
I'm such a person who speaks the equitability of our humanness together, and you and I go way, way back. I haven't had a
we
chance to
do.
ask you yet. This is
Yeah.
such a trying time.
It is very trying times, but see, what I think is interesting though is that although, yes, it's trying times, I think for people of color, um, that is not always recognized by our white allies and loved ones, is that it's always been trying times. This
That's
is
true.
not new
No,
that people have been shot by police or
that's
killed or arrested unjustly or discriminated against for this or that. It's just that now, finally, uh, due to the age of the iPhone and all of these kind of things, people are more aware, people are more awake, and people are realizing because it's being put in their face the injustice.
Mhm.
And so, although it's been very painful, and I will say there's some things that I will not watch. Um, there's some things that I just can't. And
Mhm.
when I hit dial on 10, I have to
Mhm.
walk away.
Mhm.
But I actually feel that this is a time of great transition, and
Mhm.
that possibly, if this can become, as one of the speakers yesterday at the rally that I went to, she said, this is a movement, not a moment. And
Yeah,
I thought that was brilliant. I don't know where she got it from, but I
yeah.
think that that's the thing. You have to be willing to say, this is for the long haul. This is just how I roll from now on. Not just, I put up a sign, I go do a protest, and
Yeah,
I'm done. Or
yeah,
I give $20 to the ACLU and I'm
yeah,
done.
yeah.
Um, because this is actually intrinsically connected with that same sense of entitlement that you were addressing in our earlier conversation.
Mhm.
Some people have just felt that they did not need to have to worry about certain things. And this is, even the very nature of entitlement is that you don't have to think about what
Mhm.
happens to other people, or
Mhm.
the person who's mopping your floor, or the person who's bagging your groceries, whether they can express their beliefs or not.
Mhm.
So, yeah, so it's all very interesting. But to answer the personal side of your question, it's been very intense. It's been very, and as a psychic, and I want to ask you, I'm going to flip this question around to you because I know that as a psychic, I have been receiving visits from a whole lot of dead people,
Mhm.
and dead people who have gone through things, and they are coming, in the form of ancestors and that, but they're coming to say basically these kinds of things that we're talking about, you know, hand on the plow, keep on keeping on, don't give up, don't back down, but at the same time, understand that it's all part of a larger evolution taking place for the world as a whole, for humanity,
Mhm.
and all the festering sores that have been there, whether it's been neglecting the environment, whether it's been mistreating our fellow human beings, whether it's been social justice, racial inequality, you name it, gender bias, it, all of these things are coming forward now, presenting themselves almost like little soldiers to say, okay, you ready to deal with me? You
Yeah.
ready? Let's do it. You
And
know?
don't you think there's a striking parallel between the fact that we have this stay at home time where everybody is, I mean, now, right now, as we're talking, I know there's parts of our society that are opening back up,
Mm-hmm.
but still there's this calmness. Still there's this sense of things are still stuck, or things are still paused, or things are not back to normal. I know they'll never go back to what our normal was before. This is the
Mm.
way. But there is a sense that I'm getting on this intuitive level that the social justice and the class paradigm and the taking care of the earth issues all are linked so succinctly, and they're here on our plates in such a massively major way because we have
Yes.
the space as an American psyche, a collective consciousness. We have the space to say, what does this really mean? So that's why so
Mm-hmm.
many folks have been out. So many
That's right.
folks have been speaking. So many folks feel so deeply moved by the things. I tell people all the time now, this is how I'm describing this. We are living through a pandemic for the first time in our lives that we probably won't see again like this in our lifetimes. They seem to come
God
every 100
willing.
years.
Yeah,
And a modern day civil rights movement. We have
that's
to
right.
give ourselves the grace to feel the intensities of that.
That's right.
So a lot of my client work lately has been around that. Maybe not so much
Mm-hmm.
specifically related to those two topics. In a lot of ways, yes. But a lot of clients have been coming because of the stress of the heavy
Yes.
burden of the energies, and they need help
Yes.
unpacking that, or they need help connecting the dots, or they need help strengthening their core energies so they can move forward. Yesterday, I just did a beautiful session with a woman who's an essential worker at Whole Foods, and we were
Mm.
doing work for her around healing away the layers of, you have your energy of navigating COVID because you're out in the community, but then you also have the energy of every single person coming into your store,
That's right.
giving you the energy of their burden and their anger and their frustration and their fear, and you're pulling
Mm-hmm.
all of that and sucking it all in and walking away with it at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day. God, you
Yes.
must be exhausted. Are your adrenals shot? You know, it's like that
Yeah.
kind of conversation.
Right. I
Very
think,
interesting.
yes, I agree with you, Laura. And I have recently begun working with this woman is a therapist. She's also a medium and a psychic, but she's a therapist. And she had her practice, a therapy practice, which was already pretty busy. But now, in the last few weeks, it is off the chain.
Yeah.
She has had people just, there are so many people that she literally does not have. She's had to hire on, you know, like McDonald's, you add extra franchises and
Yeah.
that. And what she's started to have, which is really brilliant, and I'm thrilled to be a part of it, is a sacred healing group in which it's a fusion of traditional talking group therapy
Mm-hmm.
with
Mm-hmm.
Reiki and
Mm-hmm.
meditation, and in a fusion. And I'm doing the Reiki piece with it, her. But these things and the enrollment for it has just been ridiculous, through the roof,
Mm-hmm.
for the reason that you said. These energies are not playing. Let's even leave the social thing and let's talk about the eclipses.
Yeah. Oh my
Let's
God.
talk about, you know, I mean, it's just, it's this amazing time of like bang, bang, bang. And also, do you feel the tempo, even though we're all home, or many of us are home, uh, the tempo has nonetheless speeded up of how things happen, the way developments happen.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be something would happen and then months would pass and then something else. But now it's like something happens and then the next day
Yeah.
there's another thing and then another thing. And I do feel that we are being challenged. It's almost like we're shedding
Yes.
old skins
Yes. Very
and
much
being
so.
challenged to drop those parts of us that are in the, as you referred to, the old paradigm, and move into something more in alignment with this higher energy.
Mm-hmm. Totally. There's this interesting play on alchemy that's coming through my practice right now. I've always been somebody who's had three separate components of my holistic healing umbrella. I've had the energy medicine through the Reiki. I've had the spirit medicine through all the psychic and spiritual practice, development, teaching, session work. And I've had the plant medicine with the essential oils. And now there's this alchemy that's coming through all of that and really blending it all together so that it's so much more clear. I went through a massive transformation within my membership. You know, the Council of Light started back in January with monthly messages again for the public at large, but this time they've put them into this membership.
Yes.
So people can access it, kind of like, I don't remember his name, but there was some guy that you mentioned to me a really long time ago, and he has this message every month and people log in and then he
right.
Anyway,
yeah.
So it's like that now where people can log in and access the message. And
nice.
At the beginning, I had this sense. Last summer, I did this work with a copy editor or salesperson to help me sort of frame the structure of how it's supposed to be.
I remember that.
Yeah, she's wonderful. She's doing some interesting work in England right now, actually. I'm watching her carefully, yeah, because I like her journey. But so I did that sales copying mishmash, put it all together, and then I launched in January, and then COVID hit in March, and it spun everything on its heels, and there was this real big sense of wanting to be able to connect physically with people, even though we were home. So a bunch of my stuff started going live during that time, and there were these intimate groups of people coming to these. It was like online. I don't like if you and I were to do a Spirit Talks night, but not in the audience with people in the room. Absolutely. Online, it was like that kind of vibe.
That's right.
So that happened for a few months, and then all of a sudden it just clicked. About maybe a month and a half ago, I feel like this was a channeled download, like a program reboot or something. My hard drive of my psyche just went boom and got real clear, and I had to go back and completely edit and sort of condense, clean, and organize. Now everything is set through January of 2021. It's just it was like boom.
Wow.
So there's this sense now of plant medicine and energy medicine and spirit medicine all together in this really concise way in this membership. But then also when folks want to do their own individual work, they still come and they can still see me for the client sessions. But there's this alchemization that's happening. And now I need to go back to my general copy on my website and start peppering this through, this alchemization, so that when somebody comes to see me for Reiki, they can understand that, yeah, sure, you can do the herbalism simpling approach and just do the Reiki, or you can alchemize everything and do it all and be really immersed in, like what you were saying with this therapist practice. It's not just the talk therapy, it's the spiritual practice, it's the energetic practice. We have to be working with our entire being, our spirit body, physical body, mental body, emotional body, etheric body at this time. I mean, you and I have always been in alignment, I think, with that anyway, and we're people that have always tried to serve that for ourselves, but the general public now is waking up to this. And if you use as a vehicle and a tool this time, as the vehicle and the tool to be able to shift into that. So, you know, last week I was doing some teaching in my backyard. I did an online Reiki course earlier in the spring, and there was a student who couldn't come to that, and we were kind of discoursing around maybe there's going to be a class in the fall at my office, but it's not looking like it. So I said, well, now that society is slowly coming back online, how would you feel about coming to my backyard and sitting 6 feet apart at my fire pit? So we did that together.
Nice.
I don't know where I'm going with that. I don't know why she just came into my mind to say that, but oh, I know, because the alchemization it wasn't just that I was teaching her about Reiki too. We were also unpacking her psychic skills, and we were talking about how she's going to open a business, and suddenly I found myself doing coaching with her, and then I was talking about the essential oils and how they can come into her business in a way that it's never been so clear, where it's all just blended together like that before. Because in the past, it's all been very separate for me. Maybe that's my organization. It's just all been in its own basket, but now it's all dumped into the same pot.
You know, it's very interesting that you bring that up because I do, as you know, I have struggled with this mightily because I think the old paradigm has been you have to pick one thing and do it. Either you're a Reiki healer or you're a plant person or you're a coach, but the idea of putting all of the, or you're a psychic, or you're a medium, and all this kind of silo view,
Mhm.
um, I feel is just getting busted up because there are actually a lot of people like us out there who do many things.
Mhm.
And what we want to bring and what spirit is guiding us to do, I believe, is to bring all of us into the practice. And it's interesting that you should mention that because I've been trying. Just yesterday, I told you I was working on my website. You're my hero of website, dumb. So I'm working on the, what do they call that, search optimization thing, and they were coming up with little terms, right? So, and of course, all of that is very narrow, you know, oh, you call yourself this. Well, but what about this? Well, you call yourself that. Well, what about this? So at the moment, I put spirit whisperer. Now, that
Ooh,
sounds kind of like mystical and magic. I don't know if it'll work.
I
I,
like it.
I chose it out of hundreds of things, but the reason why I chose it is the same reason what you're referring to is that it's all coming from spirit. And
Mhm.
whether I'm receiving whisperings to create a piece of music or
Mhm.
to create a story
Mhm.
or to offer healing to a person in terms of intuitive coaching or counseling, that's also coming from spirit, or mediumship, or even Reiki. You know, who created Reiki? Spirit created Reiki. The dead people who created Reiki are now moving through us and helping us every day. We invoke them through the symbols and the things that we were taught. I mean, the traditional Reiki person might be like, oh, for me to say that, but it's a form of channeling.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? It's a
Yeah.
form of
Agreed.
spirit whispering. But the point is, as of now, there is not sort of like a name. But if you think about us back in the day, in our former lifetimes, Laura, you, when you went to see the priestess in your village or the healer in your village, she wasn't worried about whether she was a plant specialist or whether she was just giving you some advice or whether she was going to call up the ancestors to help you. There was no sort of little, oh, I have to send you to the specialist for this or the you were
Right.
the healer for the village, and you did whatever was needed to bring the healing according to your gifts.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
And there was no label put on that work. It was just,
that's right.
you have something out of alignment, whether it's physical, mental, spiritual, you go see the lady in the hut with all the
Oh, yeah.
herbs and the cat.
That's the one. That's the one. The witch around the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, no question. And I feel that in some way we're being called to return to that level of holistic
Mhm.
approach as healers
Mhm.
and wise woman. I
Mhm.
wanted to put for my SEO wise woman, but of course they don't have, you know what I mean?
It's run by
You
a patriarchy. They wouldn't want that.
maybe you're right. I don't know. But I love to hear about what you're doing. So tell me this, in your psychic work and in your, because I know you also do that and you're also a medium, and in your channeling, have you felt, this is a discussion that many mediums are having right now, a feeling that with all this energy and the COVID and everything, that your ability to communicate with the spirit world has jumped up a notch since
Yeah.
the COVID. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, it's interesting because there is a depth of clarity to the messaging that is coming through. They are not mincing words. Understandings that the clients need to be hearing now are just like smack you across the face, tough love. And they're all going, oh, thanks, I needed that. People
Mm-hmm.
are ready. Something has been ripped apart in our space-time continuum, and on the earth plane, all this gritty stuff that you and I have been talking about today is like the sandpapery energy that's just crumbling away, and what's left is the calmness, the open space for hearing, the open space for energetic growth, right? A lot of
Yes.
my clients are going through massive go, you know, what used to take 6 months to get from point A to point B over several sessions are happening like that. Exactly.
That's
It's
right.
just remarkable the rapid growth that everybody's experiencing. And I do
Yes.
think that that also is true in my own case, just hearing the clarity, understanding the depth of the message, feeling the connectedness between what they want us to be doing with our physical body and what they want us to be doing with our mental body. You know, on a personal level, there's an interesting thing that started happening for me way back in the spring. I don't remember when it was, but early spring, I bought an online course. It must have been during COVID because it was all pre-recorded or something. I don't know. But there's this Kundalini organization that looks at energetic yogic science to vibrationally open and harmonize the energies of the body. And they have a business school. And I'm very interested in that because, as you know, there's this progression and this evolution that my business has been going through where I'm sort of morphing into these next bigger, higher containers to hold more space for more global action. And so I'm interested in developing all of that within myself. And so now I'm slowly going through the course. It was a 3 or 4 day intensive, and and then they recorded all of it together, all in its own little big pocket there, like 4 days. But so I now have found myself, I've been practicing hatha yoga for 18 years with the same teacher. And now I find myself every single day doing Kundalini yoga. Before I came on with you, I did these essential oil massage things for my arms because there's this 18-minute arm thing that I have to do every day. And I am loving it. But I never
Wow.
knew that I was going to be a Kundalini yoga person
Wow.
before. I never knew that it would serve me on a personal level to then turn it around and volumize my practice with my clients. And then the model of my business I have 3 memberships now in my business. I didn't set out to do that. It's just sort of naturally blossomed. And I think all of that is due to this intensity and rapid pace of this. You know, they're just like, it's go time, go. We are giving you the message, do it. Boom, kicking us in the
Do it.
pants from the
Do
spirit
it.
world.
Do it. Is this Guru Jagat?
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. 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 And so coming up in one of the next few sessions, she and Ragatis, they're like BFF
Yes.
now. And so I'm going to get to listen to
Yes.
Ragatis do her thing.
How exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've been following her just kind of distantly, and I saw that she had a business thing. I didn't sign up for it, but I've watched you closely, Laura. So you've given it the Laura stamp of approval. I may have to investigate it because I do like her, and I especially love that she's all about women. I listen to her reality riffing
Oh,
program, and
totally.
she has such interesting, powerful women on there,
Yeah.
and it's just awakening because I will say, as a woman of a certain age, um, I didn't even realize how much I had been conditioned to think, oh, it's a woman. It's probably just going to be some kind of lightweight, airy fairy thing or blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even realize how brainwashed I had been with the assumption that, if it's a man, it's better, stronger, clearer, blah, blah. And these are deep programming, right?
Yeah.
And so she, just by doing what she does, and having the program and putting these women up there on the stage, one after another, who are fabulous and inspire. I mean, Ra Goddess, of course, but not
Yeah.
only Ra, there's all these people there. And it is really truly inspiring. And then she has gatherings for all women only and talking about
Great.
women's
Yeah.
issues.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's powerful. It's
There's a
powerful.
trip coming up in August to Mount Shasta in
Ooh,
California.
I love it
Uh-huh.
there.
There's like a 3-day or 4-day Mecca trip to go into the earth and be with the crystals. And there's like a family, take your
Ooh,
family, go camping. I'm like, man, if we lived
yeah.
closer, we would put them
Are
on our
they gonna, they're
baby.
still gonna have it, even
Yeah.
though with the virus and all, they're just doing it?
Mm-hmm.
I love it there.
Outside. Yeah. Have you been to Mount Shasta?
Yes,
You have? What is
yes,
it like? I've only been in
yes.
spirit. I've never been to the actual physical place.
The energy is amazing. The energy is amazing. I used to go to a retreat that I did for many years that was called Awaken Your Light Body, and it was in Ashland, Oregon, which is not that far. It's about maybe hour and a half from Mount Shasta. So on my way, I would fly into San Francisco and then I would drive up to Oregon. And on the way, I would stop at Mount Shasta. And just, I mean, I've never been a big hiker. I'm sure you could get out and do all kinds of, I'm kind of a wimp with that. I like drive up to a certain place and then I get out and sit and meditate or whatever. And there's also a place where you can drink from the headwaters of
Oh,
the Sacramento River that
wow.
comes out from there. And it's just, you can feel that it is a very sacred, holy, very clean, clear kind of energy. I'm sure that a trip there really with an energy master, I mean, I just went on my own, just drive up there, but to actually go in a group for the purpose of doing energy would be pretty amazing,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very cool.
yeah.
Well, so it's interesting because on Fridays now, we're taking, this summer is Zoom summer camp and workbook still. Mommy has decided that the entering second grader is going to do workbooks this summer, like he was used to doing schoolwork at home at the dining room table during school time. Once we got over that emotional hump, we realized
Yeah.
it's here to stay. Now it's better. But on Fridays, my family's been taking time to go to Mass Audubon parks, or
Nice.
last week we went to Garden in the Woods. This week we went
Yes.
to, for Mother's Day, we always go out to the Botanic Gardens at Tower Hill, but it was closed because it was so new in COVID. So now we went on Friday when it was cold and rainy. Remember, Friday was amazing. I had a thick
It
sweater
was.
on, long sleeves,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
raincoat, a big umbrella. I was out in
Yeah. Yeah.
hot weather. It was amazing.
It was very Seattle-like.
Totally.
Reminded me of
Completely.
Seattle. Yeah. Why I moved from there. But anyway, moving on.
I
Yeah.
know. I had a college professor who did some work in Seattle teaching at the lab site there for several years, and he moved back to Boston because he said there's just no sun. And when we
No.
were in Scotland, it was the same. It was like 50 degrees. It was overcast every day. It was
Yeah.
like
There
light,
you go.
just raw.
Yeah.
Ugh, it was
I
bad.
got it. I got it.
But anyway, so we're going out on Fridays to do this nature stuff for our family. And it's like
Fun.
little pilgrimages, the Shinran Yoku, the forest bathing, the practicing being in relationship with the animals and with the trees, spirits.
Nice.
It's so soothing and
Nice.
calming, relaxing to us. But I have to say, because we've been staying home this whole time, my business is thriving. I'm still seeing lots of clients. I still am doing all my teaching. I mean, when we started staying home, it was very easy for me to just pivot online, right? Because
Of course. You were already set up for that.
a lot of my international and national clients were used to seeing on Zoom anyway. So I just, when my son's school closed, that's when I decided I'm just going to pause at the Cambridge office. That's a whole other conversation, by the way. Maybe I'll tell you in a minute. The stuff we're doing there is amazing to think about safety protocols. It's quite remarkable to me. But so we've been staying home and the routines are a little different just because we're so nicely nested. I am loving this home time. For me, this has been a boom. I just feel so
Good.
awesomely content and cozy and rejuvenated. And I'm living my manifestation dream life. This is the way I've wanted to live my life for years and make lots of money. And I'm doing it. But going out on Fridays into nature, I come back from this Friday we spent 2 hours at this place, and it's a 45-minute drive, so we were gone for 4 hours. I was exhausted.
Yeah.
I had to take a
Yeah.
nap.
Yeah.
Even though it
I
wasn't
hear
a
you.
strenuous activity, just being that connected with nature and that communion with the spirit realm and the chipmunks and the trees and the pine tree energy was insane there. But
Gorgeous.
I'm just noticing that that's like maybe it's like vitamins for me right now. I don't know how to describe it really.
I know exactly what you mean. John and I have also been going out, and what with the virus and all, there are lots of places that we used to go that we no longer
Right,
go. And
right.
so we're trying parks and getting out and just being. And I think also, to be honest, I think our energetics are more open. I know that because I've been in, even though, like you, I've been working, I'm still teaching, I'm still, basically I'm doing the same. My life on the external does not look all that different than it did before, but my energetics are different and I'm aware. And one of my teachers, mediumship teachers, had actually said that a portal has opened. And this is referring back to your thing about there's a portal, and we who are sensitive to these kinds of things are far more sensitive now to the energies because they're right here. He was saying, oh, remember how if you wanted to connect with the spirit world, you needed to sit and do this and systematically open your chakras and then do this and breathe here and sit. He said, now, boom, you see your heart, you go out to your peripheral like this, you go up, and there they are. Hello, we've been waiting for you. Where you
Yeah,
been?
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so I think that when you actually go out and get in nature, because of that, we're already much more open, and maybe because we're not so jaded and desensitized with many of the normal things we used to do, like commuting and dealing with some of the peripheral BS that was just a daily part. When we go out, we're far more open to receiving that energy and then coming home and taking a nap. Maybe that's just how your body needs to process all that.
That's amazing. Yeah, that feels
Yeah.
right. Because it's
Yeah.
never been that way before. We live near conservation land, and we bought our house specifically so we could be in nature all the time, and it's never been that intense before. I've never had to come home and take rests. I've
Yeah. No, it's
never rested
super.
before. This is a new concept for me.
Exactly. And I have to say, with the Zoom world, when you used to have a meeting, you got dressed, you went out, you allowed, at least because it's Boston, even if you're driving 2 miles, you needed to allow like an hour
For sure.
because,
Yeah.
so you got up, you got dressed, you got in your car, you had to deal with all this, and then you go to your office, you wait, you da 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 da. And now, it's just a few minutes and then boom, you're on the call and then boom, you're off. And there's a lot more time suddenly and a lot more openness and availability for spirit to come in and work with us. This is what I have felt. And I have felt an intense presence of spirit in a way that has been new and wonderful, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so powerful.
Yeah,
It's
it's
very
it's
tender and loving.
yeah, yeah, very powerful. And as going back to what you had said, all of that support from spirit is coming because we have work to do,
Yes.
you know.
Time. It's time.
Yeah, yeah.
And the earth has paused so we can do the work on a very deep
Mm,
systemic level, not just surface work, not just
mm,
distracted, busy modern day technological society work. Deep, deep, deep.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
For sure.
Exactly. Oh, I always love these chats with you, Laura. It's always so rich, and we always end up going someplace way deeper than I was going to be just, yo, girlfriend, how you doing? But of course, now we went off to the deep metaphysics, but it's all good. Beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's always good to be with you. It'll be
lovely.
nice when we can be together again.
Ah, that will be good. So you're saying your office has opened or will
Well, so
open?
yes, they opened. First phase was acupuncturists back in the beginning
Mm,
of May, and we had
mhm,
incredible, really rich, deep talks as a
mm.
community. There's 40 plus practitioners, and then the two owners of the
Wow.
building and a couple of admins. So we had to
Mm,
figure out, okay, here's the state protocol, here's the city of Cambridge protocol. Now, what on top of that is our protocol? Because we are only
mm.
as safe in this building as our weakest link. If we are all
That's right.
not doing the exact same thing, then none of us are secure.
Hmm.
So we were really deeply looking, and there was a couple of people who stepped up to the plate and did a lot of research, a couple of massage therapists, and they made some recommendations for things like the cleaning supply that everybody should get for the bathrooms between sessions, and the trash cans with the lids that now need to close so that we can have that kind of security. There's things like we have signs above our toilets in the bathroom saying, please close the lid before you flush, because now there's COVID evidence saying that that's a spreader. Isn't that
Wow.
remarkable?
Yeah. Things that we take for granted that
We
you
never
don't
even thought
even
of
think
before.
about.
No.
Yeah.
So the routines and the systems have really changed. And I
Mhm.
actually, this has been something that's been very interesting for me in general. I've had to go to the post office. I've had to go to the dentist. I've had to go to a frame shop because I needed a piece of art framed. Those
Mhm.
are only like the main places that I've been out to really in society. I've been really home. But
Yeah.
what I'm really enjoying is, oh, I know, we had to go to my grandmother's retirement assisted living community, which is on lockdown because she's
Mm.
moving and we needed to deliver boxes to her. And in all these places, including my Cambridge office, the routines are the same. They check you for signs, they give you the temperature swab, they do contact tracing so that they have your information for afterwards. You're expected to wash your hands upon entry, you're expected to use hand sanitizer, you're expected to cover your face. I said to one practitioner at some point, at I think it was my grandmother's facility, I'm actually really liking the fact that everybody is so germ conscious right now, or like wellness
Mhm.
conscious right now. I love all these protocols we've put in place, minus the mask wearing all the time. That part's still hard for me to handle, just on a physical
Mm.
getting used to it level. But
Mm.
I really appreciate how respectful our community is being around the possibilities of transfer contamination. So then when we look
Mhm.
at my building, I'm not quite ready to be back there yet. I have some clients who would like to come back and see me there. They keep asking, when are you coming back? And I'm not quite there yet. Maybe like
Mhm.
September timeframe. I'm not sure.
Mhm.
But the building has just gone through this evolution of change where we've taken down all the fabric and cloth in the building. We've stripped
Wow.
all of our massage tables down to poly. There's like these coverings that you have to use so you can spray them and wipe them afterwards. I
Wow.
bought somehow the universe wanted me to have not one, but two $800 essential oil automatic spray machine mister thing here, because
Wow.
you have to decontaminate between each client. And so
Wow.
it's just
Yeah.
amazing to me, like the things that we're thinking about and the ways that we're interacting with folks. And for the most part, and now we have a few massage therapists that are back in the building. Our acupuncturists are back. The Pilates teacher is back. No, none of the yoga people are back, I don't think. And some massage therapists are back and some aren't. And then I'm still
Mhm.
sort of straddling the fence. I'm so happy and content doing my Zoom. This is my home office that we're in right now, right? I'm
Right.
doing this from home. So there's no pressure for me to go back right away.
No.
But I don't know. It's just really, I'm so pleased with how conscious people are being and how careful people are being in that community. It makes me feel safe knowing, I mean, yesterday is a good example of something. Some of our practitioners have retired. COVID just was the end of the line for some folks. And
Yeah.
an
Mhm.
office mate of mine, they're all shared spaces, right? So this office mate of mine is
Mhm.
retiring. I purchased the massage table from her. She took a lot of
Mhm.
her furniture out of the room. I brought furniture in. So yesterday
Okay.
I was doing some fabric protecting on the couch, and I brought my son with me because he hasn't, for a 7.5-year-old to not leave the house. We have to be very calculated about when do you leave? Where do you go? What kinds of activities do you do? And he
Mm.
loved being there with me. And I felt comfortable there with him. I felt safe with him. We
Good.
put our masks on, walking through the general building. He came into my office. We closed the door. I did the stuff I needed to do. He took his mask off. He was in a different environment, right?
Good.
We got
Yeah.
home and he was like, Daddy, that was so fun. And in my mind, I was like the militant mom, like, sit here, don't touch anything. That way.
Oh, that's great. And I do think it's an extra challenge raising children during this time. I take my hat off because it's more than a notion. I can't even imagine. It's one thing feeling restless for yourself. It's another thing having, like you said, a 7-year-old who is naturally restless anyway and wants to just explode with energy and go everywhere and do everything, and to have to be constantly concerned with that, in addition to the school piece that we opened up this conversation with. It's just an immense, amazing burden on parents right now.
Sure, for sure. And thank goodness we found some Zoom summer camps. I mean, like the little pockets of time throughout the summer days to fill him with some sort of stimulation. Otherwise, it would be a whole summer of just sitting at home twiddling our thumbs, and
Yeah.
that would be so hard for me. I feel very blessed. We have the freedom and we have the financial flexibility and we've got the resources to be able to tap into these things. Divine timing flows through my
Yep.
life. And I sort of feel like it was spirit that brought this awareness to me from these two different camp Zoom programs that we're working with and juggling all these different schedules, but it all worked out. The spring worked out just fine with all of the crazy pivot and schedules and teaching and working from home and teaching the
Awesome.
child. Like it all just flowed. So I'm hopeful for the fall, and we'll see.
Yeah. I think, and this is another thing that we're learning, right? Is that man proposes and God disposes. Basically, we can of course have what we would like to have happen, but the reality is, who knows? We don't know.
Yeah.
And God willing, we stay healthy and we keep our energy and our vibration up so that we're able to cope with
Right.
whatever comes down the pike, which
Right.
we cannot say.
I know. Who knows?
Mm.
Who knows what it's going to be like in 2 months, 6 months, a year from now, 24 months from now.
No, you don't know.
The spirit messages that have been coming through me say that this is a long haul process for us.
That's right. That's right. I've been getting the same. Don't hold your breath.
No.
And dig in.
Yeah,
and
settle in. Find your
get
place.
comfortable.
Yeah. Totally.
And take care of yourself. Yes. So that you're able to go for the long haul. Don't burn it all out in a couple of months of intensity. You know?
Right. Yeah. Sitting and spinning in panic is just not an option because it burns too much energy and it just wastes a lot of creativity and prosperity movement forward for us. So that's not something I have prescribed to ever in my life anyway, but a lot of the clientele work has just been around. Nope, I don't want to be in panic mode. Everyone else around me is in panic mode. So Laura, can you please help me? Sure.
Right.
Let's do the work.
Yep. Absolutely.
Aww.
Oh, sweetie, always good to talk to you.
You too.
Always a blessing.